It's Mother's Day. Behind many famous space scientists and inventors, there are their usually not too famous moms. But I want to tell a little story about a space scientist mom who isn't famous or well known yet, but gradually her history is being unearthed. Back in 1921, a sixth child was born to a farming couple in North Dakota. They named her Mary. Mary had bullying siblings and indifferent parents, and so her childhood was a mishmash of existence. When she was 9 years old, social services stepped in, providing her with horse riding lessons and a horse so that she could ride to a one-room schoolhouse. That's quite a beginning. In 1939, she graduated as her high school's valedictorian and was awarded a scholarship for college. She then enrolled at a college in Ohio as a chemistry major. Due to the Second World War and a shortage of scientists, a local recruiter offered Mary a job at a factory in Sandusky, Ohio. He would not tell her what products the factory made or what her job would be, only that she would be required to obtain top-secret security clearance. Short on money, she decided to take the job even though it would mean having to postpone her degree. The job turned out to be at the Plum Brook Ordnance Works munitions factory, charged with the responsibility of manufacturing 3 explosives: trinitrotoluene, which is TNT, dinitrotoluene, which is DNT, and pentolite. The site produced more than 1 billion pounds of ordnance throughout World War II. So Mary spent the war years designing explosives for the military, and along with other women earned the nickname munitionettes. After the war, Mary applied for a job at North American Aviation in their rocket dying division. Soon after being hired, she was promoted to the role of theoretical performance specialist, which required her to mathematically calculate the expected performance of new rocket propellants. Out of 900 engineers, she was the only woman, and one of only a few employees without a college degree. These 2 facts were the main sources of prejudice she faced in her time at the company. While working there, she met her future husband, George Richard Morgan, a mechanical engineering graduate from Caltech. Nicknamed Red, he and Mary had 4 children: George, Stephen, Monica, and Karen. The space race was now ongoing. In 1957, the Soviet Union and the United States had set a goal of placing satellites into Earth orbit as part of a worldwide scientific celebration known as the International Geophysical Year. The United States effort was called Project Vanguard. The Soviet Union successfully launched the Sputnik satellite on October 4, 1957. An event followed soon after by a very public a disastrous explosion of a Vanguard rocket. Until this point, the US had been operating with the assumption that they were technologically ahead in the space race. Of course, you know what it means when you assume something. Russia beating them to it was a source of embarrassment and shifted the US's focus from missile-based rockets to technology-based rockets. Sputnik orbited for 21 days, showcasing its success, and in less than a month, Sputnik 2 had also been launched. Political pressure forced U.S. politicians to allow a former German rocket scientist, Wernher von Braun, to prepare his Jupiter-C rocket for an orbital flight. Does anyone recognize the guy on the left in this picture? It's Walt Disney. Von Braun had developed the V-2 rocket in World War II for the Nazis. It was capable of covering over 300 kilometers. At the end of the war, von Braun was vulnerable to Nazi violence as they were prioritizing protection of their technology and intelligence, which is the polite way of saying he would likely be killed or imprisoned for his knowledge. He relocated to the United States. But even with the expertise of von Braun and his team, they were only able to get the propeller 93.1% of the way to orbit. The U.S. decided to seek out Mary Sherman Morgan, whose reputation for complex theoretical calculations landed her the poisoned chalice of finding a better propellant for the rocket. Following the launch of Sputnik, the urgency of the commission intensified. Mary had already created a new propellant a year earlier, called Hydyne, that had been successful in 3 Jupiter-C cone nose tests. Coming up with a new propellant, a Hydyne LOX, liquid oxygen, mixture, Mary was the integral factor in creating the successful launch of America's first satellite, Explorer 1, now called Juno 1, into orbit on January 31, 1958. There is a hint of the sense of humor Mary had, as when she was asked what she wanted to name the new fuel, she submitted Bagel. Bagel, of course, to go with lox. The new name was refused. Mary passed away in 2004 at the age of 82. Sadly, her son George admitted that he and his siblings knew surprisingly little about his mother's life and work when she died, as she worked in an industry connected to defense and national security and was limited in what she could discuss. Due to her great avoidance of celebrity attention and status, she never did any interviews in her career or during retirement. She had erased herself from existence so much that when her son George tried to write an obituary in the Los Angeles Times following her 2004 death, there wasn't enough information to verify her existence. The newspaper couldn't publish it. George created a blog to learn more about his mother and collect as much information as he could. He had built and launched homemade rockets with friends in the Arizona desert, and as he recalled, "If I'd known how much expertise in rocketry my mother had, we could have asked for her help and saved ourselves a great deal of trouble." George wrote a semi-biographical stage play called Rocket Girl, which was performed in 2008. The play was later turned into a book by the same name. The book was released in 2013, also titled Rocket Girl, and subtitled The Story of Mary Sherman Morgan, America's first female rocket scientist. It was particularly hard to source information due to the secrecy of the space race and Cold War relations. So happy Mother's Day to Mary Sherman Morgan, the best kept secret in the space race.